Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing something quite a bit different from what I normally do. Today I'm going to be doing the Metalhead Tag, which is something that I found through Monica LW's channel, which by the way, she's pretty cool. It's a good channel, you should check it out. But she did a video, I can't remember how long ago, maybe a month and a half ago, called the Metalhead Tag, where basically she wasn't tagged in it or anything, she didn't tag anybody, but it was just questions and stuff about yourself and metal that you can answer and all of that. I figured it would be a cool way to sort of tell you guys a little bit more about myself when it comes to this, and I thought it would be fun, so let's do it. And by the way, I'm not going to be tagging anybody in this either. If you want to do it, go ahead. It's just a fun little thing to do, but I will have the questions and everything in the description, so if you want to do it, then you can get them there. So the first one is, how long have you been a metalhead? I would say, for me, I've been a metalhead for 5 or 6 years, maybe, about that long, because, I mean, it's kind of weird for me because I was introduced to rock music, and then sort of in between that, there were some metal bands I got into, but it was sort of weird. But rock music I was introduced to in like early 2012, and then throughout that year I also found a couple of metal bands that I liked, so I would say about 5 or 6 years for that. Next is, how were you introduced to metal? So basically, I grew up in a very kind of strict Christian household. Not that I'm saying there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I'm completely fine with my upbringing. But it was, heavy metal and stuff was, I wouldn't say not allowed, but it was kind of frowned upon. For Christmas of 2011, my father got the album Until We Have Faces by Red, which was the first album from them that I heard, and he wasn't sure if I would like it, but he said if you want to listen to it, you can, because I mean, they were a Christian rock band or whatever, so I listened to it and I liked some of it, and over time I sort of liked the entire album as well as the rest of Red's discography. But they were sort of the band that introduced me to rock music and sort of things that I hadn't really heard before, because at that point I really didn't like rock music or heavy metal at all. So then after that, I, of course, being raised in a Christian household and everything, I was only allowed to listen to Christian music. So even when I was listening to rock and heavy metal and stuff, for quite a long time it was only Christian bands. So after a while I found stuff like Demon Hunter and For Today and Memphis Mayfire, which isn't really a Christian band, but the singer is, so it counts, I guess. But those were sort of more metalcore, and I know some people don't really count that. But that was how I was introduced to it. And then, of course, like over time, like in, I would say 2016-ish, I started being introduced to more than just metalcore and deathcore and stuff. I started getting into some of the other stuff like melodic death metal and power metal and all of those. Third question is, what is or are your favorite subgenres of metal? I would probably say that my absolute favorite is melodic death metal, just because there are a lot of bands in that subgenre that I really like, such as Insomnium, Amon Amarth, Soilwork, Solution 45, I don't know if you would technically count as a melodic death metal band, maybe. And then some others as well that I'm just not remembering right now. But some others are power metal, like, not a lot of it, but mostly bands like Sabaton and Powerwolf I really like. Symphonic is another one that I like. I don't know if I would necessarily say it's symphonic metal, because some of it I'm not really that into. But I do like those sort of symphonic elements when they're brought in. And then I also have here metalcore and deathcore, but only the good bands, which is kind of a weird thing to say, I guess. But, the good bands, as far as metalcore, I would consider like As I Lay Dying, August Burns Red, and a few others as well, but those are the two big ones for me. And then deathcore, pretty much the only bands there that I really care for too much are Thy Art Is Murder and Impending Doom. Next is, what is your favorite band or and song is just a slash, so I'm gonna assume and or. I'm gonna talk about both anyway. So my favorite band pretty much of all time is Red. You guys probably know that. But as for my others, of course, Red is more of a rock band. Sort of my 4 favorite bands of all time would be Red and Starset for rock, and Insomnium and Sabaton for metal. And my favorite song is Winterscape by Insomnium, although that is also an album, so if you're not counting that, then it's probably Pieces by Red, which is not really a metal song, but it's still my favorite. 5th is How Many Shows Have You Attended? This one is something that I've kind of failed at miserably, mostly because I live in Maine, and bands don't really come to Maine that much, especially a lot of the foreign ones from, like, Sweden and Finland and stuff, so they don't really come over here that often, which really sucks, because several of my favorite bands are from that area or just outside of the US, and so they don't come here that much, especially to this state. So I haven't been to any, and the only concert that I have been to were Newsboys, which is a Christian band, back in October of 2012, I think. And then a local orchestra was doing a show for Star Wars music, and me being a Star Wars fan, I went to that. So those are really the only 2 concerts I've ever actually been to. They were both very good, but they weren't actually like related to metal in any way. Next one, what do you love about the subculture and the music? As for the subculture, there isn't a whole lot that I really know about the subculture, I guess. I'm not super into it. I don't really know that many other people that have a similar taste as me and everything. But based on what I have found on like YouTube and stuff, I like the sense of community. I feel like a lot of metalheads kind of mostly friendly, I guess, and all of that sort of thing is just, I think, a good sense of community. And as for the music, I mean, there's a lot of things I like about it, but one of the biggest things is the variety. You know, you got a lot of variety in the music, which is something I like. You've got more melodic stuff, you've got very not melodic stuff, you've got poppy stuff, you've got symphonic, you know, all these different subgenres have very distinct sounds. So like melodic death metal sounds different from black metal, which sounds different from power metal, which sounds different from metalcore, all of those different things, and there's a lot of variety, and that is one of my favorite things about it. And also lyrics, just generally, a lot of the bands I listen to, I really like the lyrics, and I also like the variety in lyrics there as well, because, you know, you have bands like Amon Amarth, which focus on Norse mythology, and then Insomnium, which focuses more on sort of the sadder parts of life, and then you got Sabaton, which focuses on history, and Powerwolf, which is like a mixture of fantasy and religion, and all of these different things. So generally, the variety is probably my favorite thing, aside from just the sound. So 7 is, what do you dislike about the subculture and music? There isn't much about the music itself that I don't like, but as for the subculture, there are some things. So the first one is like judgment and elitist, so people who sort of think that their taste is infinitely better than yours. So like if you don't like a certain band, or if you do like a certain band, then you are instantly like, you have no credibility or something. It's just like, oh, you like metalcore, oh, you can't be a metalhead, oh, you don't like Metallica. I mean, I kind of get that a little bit, but I think it is a good thing to like some of the classic bands. I personally haven't been able to get into a whole lot of them for some reason, which annoys me. Just people who think that your taste is invalid, and that just kind of annoys me. Thankfully, I haven't come across a whole lot of people like that, at least personally. So I guess that is something I'm grateful for. Another thing, which is a very small issue but still an issue for me, is classifying a band by their lyrics. To me, if you ask what kind of band is August Burns Red, I would say they're metalcore, not that they're Christian metal. If you ask me what Amon Amarth is, I would say they are melodic death metal, not Viking metal. Just because a band And like Sabaton, I would say they're power metal, not history metal or something. Just because a band focuses on a particular, particular lyrical content, I don't really think that should dictate what you call them. I mean, it's not really a big issue. I mean, in the case of like some bands, if you like Viking culture and Norse mythology, then the Viking metal sort of name might be helpful to you, because then you can find more bands that are like that. It's just kind of annoying to me, and it is kind of an easy thing to just say, oh, they're Viking metal or they're Christian metal, without having to go into what specifically the genre they are in is. It's kind of stupid and not really kind of pointless, but it's still a very small thing that annoys me. And then the final thing that I have to say here is about Christian bands. Now I know I just said that I don't really like those sort of labels, but it still works because these are bands that have Christian members or have Christian lyrics, whatever. You know, most of the time it's people not liking a particular band simply because of that aspect of it. So, say for example, you have a very good band like August Burns Red or Impending Doom, which is kind of my opinion. If you don't like Impending Doom or August Burns Red, then fine. But simply not liking those bands because of the lyrics and the religious aspect to them. And it's the same way for even other things, although I am kind of guilty of this. So, like, for example, some death metal and quite a bit of black metal being satanic and having satanic themes or satanic lyrics or whatever, and not liking it simply for that reason, or even really just not liking a particular band because of the lyrics. And I know that I am a little bit guilty of this because there is a lot of black metal that I don't really listen to because I'm not comfortable with the lyrics. I will not deny that those bands can be good. It's mostly just saying, oh, a band is a Christian band, oh, they can't be good then. Or, you know, stuff like that. So, like, if there is a band like, say, I don't know, Gorgoroth, or Behemoth, that has more satanic focused lyrics, I'm not going to say they are a bad band. I just personally don't feel comfortable listening to it. So, I guess that's just a thing. I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, I guess, but oh well. Number 8, what do your parents and friends think of your music and or look? Well, look doesn't really apply to me, because I don't really fit with the metal look, whatever that's supposed to be. As for the music taste, a lot of my family isn't really a fan of it. I mean, they don't really, you know, pester me about it or anything, and they're like, oh, you shouldn't listen to that. Although, when they first found, like, some of them first found out, they're like, how can you listen to that? It's just a little screaming noise and stuff. Which is kind of stupid because, first of all, a lot of it doesn't even have screaming in it, but, you know, whatever. At least at the beginning, most of it did, but now I've sort of moved out of that, I guess. But, yeah, they don't really like it. Friends are usually okay with it. They don't really care. They're just kind of like, whatever. Next is opinion on core genres of music and screamo and all of that. For me, it depends. Because as for core genres of music, metalcore, deathcore, whatever, I think that some of it's good, like I said, August Burns Red, Thy Art Is Murder, Impending Doom, As I Lay Dying, Demon Hunter, other bands out there are pretty good, whereas other ones I just don't like. When it comes to liking a certain band or whatever, I don't really discriminate based on what they are classified as. If I think they're good, then I think they're good. So that's pretty much my opinion on that. So number 10 is, what is or are your least favorite subgenres of metal? I wouldn't really say I have a whole lot of least favorites, just because even though there are some that I generally don't listen to very often, I wouldn't really say that I just outright dislike them. Like, for example, I don't listen to a whole lot of thrash metal. That doesn't mean I dislike it, I just haven't found any bands that I really like within that genre. As for least favorites, I have sludge metal and doom metal, which are kind of similar, I guess. It's just not really my kind of thing. and grindcore, which is kind of the opposite as far as like sludge metal and doom metal are usually very kind of slow, and grindcore is very not. But I'm just not into those very much. The final one at number 11, how would you define the metal subculture and music as a whole, and what does it mean to you? I wasn't really sure how to approach this question. I'm still not. Sort of what it means to me, I guess, is a lot of different things. First of all, I just like it for the sound of the music and everything. Really, it's something that I can go to really at any time, just because, like I said, there's a lot of variety, so no matter what sort of emotional state I'm in, I guess, I can always find something that sort of fits my mood. So I have some that I can go to if I'm like kind of down, I have some that I can go to if I'm very energetic and need something very fast-paced. It's something that I can really go to at any time. It's also something I can learn from, which is something that I found out when I started sort of expanding on my taste, I guess, with bands like Amon Amarth and Sabaton in particular. In Amon Amarth's case, Viking culture and Norse mythology, which I find quite interesting. And then Sabaton with military history and really history in general, which I've always been interested a little bit in history, but their music kind of is a good way for me to become more into it, especially like World War II, because that's what a majority of their lyrics focus on. And before I wasn't really interested in it, and now I am a little bit more interested simply because of their lyrics and the stories that they're able to tell through them. And then just another thing is, it sort of, to me, signifies a sort of freedom of expression, which might sound a little weird. I mean, music in general, there really aren't any boundaries, but in metal, there's just a lot of, like I said, a lot of variety, so you can sort of express yourself in whatever way you want, and I just think that's pretty cool. And then there was one more thing where it was how many subgenres can you name without stopping or editing the video. I'm not going to bother doing that because I just don't feel like it, even though I probably could come up with quite a few. But I just don't really feel like doing that right now. So I'm just going to end the video there. So in the comments, let me know what you think. Do you relate to anything that I said at all, or disagree or agree or whatever? If you want to do a video like this, like I said, all of the questions and everything will be in the description. So yeah, I guess I will see you guys next time.